These are the images that most Westerners typically associate with the Soviet Union. In the past, most visitors have seen little more than the architectural wonders of the major cities. But the country is immense. Siberia alone occupies an area larger than the entire United States. Siberia evokes in the mind's eye perennial wintertime. But this is Siberia too. Another surprise. River running has been a popular sport here for as long as anyone can remember. Until Glasnost, the Soviet Union was the last major country on the planet whose rivers remained unknown to Western river explorers. Charlie Ross is vice president of Sobek Expeditions. After 5 years of trying to get permission to raft in the Soviet Union, he finally received this invitation from Sovintersport in 1988. You've heard of the Ob River, the fourth longest in the world. Why don't you paddle one of its sources in the Altai Mountains? Take your pick. Sovintersport recommended the popular Katun River, but Charlie thought it would be too easy. The steeper Chulishman River caught his eye. But not knowing whether he'd ever get a second chance to raft in the Soviet Union, he chose what looked like the most challenging river on the map, the Bashkaus. And he got more than he bargained for. Team members that arrived in the Soviet Union in August 1988 have come for more than river running. Like many private citizens of the two superpowers who are increasingly making contact, they believe that peace can and should trickle up from the people to their governments.
He's a genuine Altaian, so ask him to speak something in Altaian.
They're curious about the Russian way of life, and they look forward to sharing the Bashkaus trip with a team of Russian paddlers. Siberia, Misha Kozhevnikov, the Soviet liaison and godfather of Russian rafting, tells American translator Masha Nordby that the rafts and kayaks are still en route from Moscow and won't arrive for a couple of days. The Americans will be flown to the river now anyway, and the boats will be choppered in later.
Extremely narrow and either port. This section of the river is very difficult. Yes. This very continuous rapid, many rocks and falls. If water high, very difficult.
Several years ago, the water came up on Misha's group, and they had some problems. The discussion continues in the back of the helicopter with Masha interpreting. Misha can't believe that Charlie still wants to run the Bashkaus. Then something strange occurs. The chopper changes course and heads cross-country. These Russians had been expecting the Americans, and they welcomed them to Yazula. Yazula? Yazula is on the Chulishman River, not the Bashkaus. What's the big idea? Misha, waving goodbye, has pulled the switcheroo on Charlie out of concern for the Americans' safety.
We're here at the Chulishman on this river. It looks like Misha left a slight window of opportunity open to make a decision to split the Soviet team here and go over to the Boschhaus in a couple of days. But I don't know whether I can believe them. The opportunity to run the Boschhaus would be based on my decision to sign a contract stating that any evacuation would be completely paid for with a signed blank check if there was a medical emergency to get out of the Boschhaus gorge with helicopter time. We're looking in the range of $5,000 to $10,000, and
so much for that idea. It turns out that for convenience, Sov Intersport has thrown the Americans together with this team of Russians and 4 British kayakers. The Brits themselves are not too happy to be here. They are intermediate paddlers, and Sov Intersport had promised them that they could run the less strenuous Katun River.
And we hoped that that's what we were going to do.
And then, yeah, it's a bit of a letdown to be told that you're going to be changing to a different river. But, you know, in the last instance, we're here, and there's nothing we can do about it, really. That's the way things work out here.
On the brighter side, it's a beautiful Siberian spring, summer, fall rolled into one glorious burst of life. But the village of Yezula, which means the great spring in Altaic language, is always prepared for the great winter. The Altai people have always been herders, and they were nomads until the 20th century, living in portable dwellings called yurts. The ayil, which the Altaians still use as a summer home, resembles the yurt in its round design and open ceiling for smoke ventilation. The Altaians now are more connected to and dependent on the outside world than their nomadic ancestors.
So everything that they get from the government. It comes in with a helicopter.
In recent decades, they have increasingly adopted the Russian-style house, especially for winter living. Racially, the people are a mixture of the various nomadic tribes that took turns inhabiting and sometimes ruling the area since the 8th century BC. The Scythians, Huns, Turks, Mongol Tatars, and Khans. Legend has it that the ancestors of these villagers repulsed the mighty Genghis Khan in the 13th century. The Scythians invented the saddle here during the 1st millennium BC, and the Turks perfected their hard wooden version and developed stirrups in the 6th century AD. And arguably, the bowed string instrument, the precursor of the violin, was invented here in the 5th century BC. Yezula is isolated. There is no road out of here, and the people live a Spartan existence. Logs are still hewn by axe, and the hay still cut by scythe. Yet progress is coming. The village is electrified, there is even television, and the mail is delivered by helicopter.
This letter is pretty urgent. I hope it gets there soon.
Charlie takes a look at some of the Chulishman's rapids and decides that he still wants the greater challenge of running the Boschhaus. But the British-Soviet team, bored with waiting, has already started down the Chulishman. The only Russian left in camp is a phys ed teacher from Barnaul, Shorit Stepanov. He's supposed to make sure that the Americans catch up with the others after their boats arrive. What kind of guy is Shorit?
Hooligan.
He was a hooligan.
That's encouraging. Charlie tries to persuade Shoritz that the Americans can handle the Boschhaus and any emergency evacuation by helicopter.
does he think we have a good plan to be safe and successful on the Boschhaus?
Ты думаешь, что он только что сказал тебе, что это хороший план?
Не совсем.
Not totally good.
Проблема, что когда мы зайдем в ущелье,
The problem is if it rains, the pilot is not going to be able to fly and come looking for us.
Will you support us to do the Boschhaus instead of the Chulishman?
If you want to run the Boschhaus, of course, I'll be with you.
Terrific, but what will Misha say? He is not on the chopper. Joining the group in his stead are Kostya Krechitov and Lena Krechitov, both from Leningrad. Taken by surprise, they allow themselves to be shanghaied over to the Bashkaus, and they know nothing about that signed blank check requirement. Charlie's dream is coming true, but perhaps he should have heeded the adage. Be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it.
Okay, dear God, please, this side up, please. Hold tight.
The American boats are made of hypalon and neoprene, and the rowing frame is aluminum. The Russian catamaran, on the other hand, is made of canvas sewn over tubes and held together by birch trunks. It looks flimsy, but it's said to be highly maneuverable in whitewater. Sobek has brought along 3 paying passengers. Bill Gray is asked why he's willing to pay staggering sums of money to risk his life in Siberia.
I've been trying to figure that out ever since I got here, John.
Jacques Broom.
Sometimes I think you have a choice. You can get up every morning and you can go down to the corner and get a newspaper and go back and drink your coffee, or you can come to Siberia. And it seems to me that as a sort of rational person, the way I think of myself, I wouldn't want to do something where I get killed. So what I do is I put myself in the hands of people who have done this a lot, who have a wonderful safety record, and whom I know are not really psychotically crazy.
And where is Jacques' son Bunky supposed to be right now?
I'm supposed to be in Dallas in 2 days for football practice. And, I kind of couldn't get in touch with my coach, so I don't know if he knows where I am.
You feel kind of guilty?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a once in a lifetime experience. I mean, so is playing high school football your senior year, but hopefully my coach will see it kind of an opportunity I'd take.
Also an opportunity to work with the Russians, because I feel like that peace really starts with getting to know the people, and by working with them and spending the time with them.
On behalf of Sobek, I'd like to dedicate this bottle of champagne to the Bashkaus River and our Soviet rafting friends who have so kindly delivered us to the river of our choice.
Very, very chilly. Very, very chilly.
And happy birthday.
И неясно прохожим в этот день непогоды, почему я веселый такой. Я играю на гармошке, у прохожих на виду, день рождения,
The Russian host graciously invited the American rafters to be baptized first. For the large, buoyant rafts and catamaran, the rapid is no problem. For a kayaker, though, there is danger lurking in this rapid. The kayak can be sucked back into the recycling water at the bottom of the draw and held there. The group is well into the Bashkaus Gorge now, and it's not a hospitable place. Sleeping sites are limited.
been in a river only 2 times before.
Но была на слабой реке, на Вии была.
But there were much weaker rivers than this one.
Это второй класс.
Only class 2 or 3.
И на Телецком озере, на парусе.
And on Lake Televska. And that's all.
Why did Lena decide to come on this trip if she knew it would be so difficult?
Ну, потому что хотелось попробовать себя.
Because I wanted to try myself out.
Познакомиться с собой.
Get to know myself.
How do you like your eggs? Sobek style?
3 eggs to 1 water or 3 water?
I thought it was the other way around. I'd say this is an utter failure in egg preparation.
And aside from their cooking, what does she think of the Americans?
Очень прекрасный, very good.
The judge is so under ordinary circumstances. The river 4, the egg 0. These are disgusting. But as a new taste sensation, little Tabasco, we may be okay.
For sure, this isn't buying this American freeze-dried scene. He will stick to his own cuisine, fat in a can. Lost and abandoned equipment signals someone's misfortune on a previous trip. The Russians will portage this rapid. They don't want to risk getting stuck in the hole after a good breakfast. Sobek guide Todd Brownell.
That looks pretty wild.
Looks like a good rapid. I think there's a right sneak run, though, that'll avoid the hole.
With this continuous whitewater, I'd say let's not take any passengers. No reason to take any chances out here. Set up safety below and run one boat at a time.
I agree with that. We're still too far out in Siberia to take chances here.
This rapid is called keyhole in English. The idea being that if you can pick your way through the rocks, you will have opened the lock. Later that day, the kayakers come upon a large party of Russians. They have met with difficulties. The largest of their 3 boats has been destroyed on the rocks. They seem glad to meet Americans, and the 2 groups engage in the time-honored pleasantry of comparing gear. The Americans admire the Russians' creative homespun apparel, and the Russians like the Americans' high-tech wear. What intrigues the Americans most is not the Russians' overstuffed and inflatable life jackets, or even the flotation pants, but the fanny pads. The Americans have never seen these before. The crews of the Russians' 2 remaining boats will continue downriver, but for the others, the river journey is over, and they'll have to hike out of the gorge. Up ahead, the rafters have unloaded most of the gear from their boats and are presently lining around the unrunnable rapid. This is serious business. A fall from the slick rocks could land a person in the rapid, and the swim here could be fatal. No problem. Just one more raft to go, plus all the gear. While Bunky lays claim to the only comfortable sleeping spot in the gorge, everybody else will sleep on pillows of granite again. High on the mountainside, a shiny disk reflects the morning sun. At this monument, Shoritz and Charlie honor the memory of a Russian rafter who drowned on the first exploratory down the river in 1977.
Right down there, his catamaran flipped. He yelled for the others to swim for shore, but he stayed with the boat, hoping to save it. His body was found after 2.5 months.
It's a tradition for rafting groups to sign this logbook. Shoritz shows Charlie the entry he made on his first trip down the river several years ago. There have been only 22 trips down the river, and Charlie puts the first non-Russian signature in the book. The Russians used to take a lot more risks on this river, but after 5 more rafters lost their lives and many others their boats and belongings, they have become very cautious boaters. There are occasional exceptions to the rule, however. If the American rafters don't have to worry quite as much as the Russians about getting stuck in or flipped by holes, they still have to be extremely careful since the rafts are carrying everyone's food and gear. The incredibly mobile kayakers, like Brian Seeholzer here, provide the rest of the group with vicarious thrills. Todd and Charlie are sticking to their policy of taking no passengers on difficult rapids. In this archival shot, the catamaran gets a perfect run, which is precisely duplicated now by Shoritz and Kostya. The catamaran's lightness enables it to slip through the slot, but Charlie's big raft can't even get down the rapid. Finally, despite Lena's warning,
Charlie, the film's on your boat.
it occurs to the cameraman that his film bags are on the boat.
Save the film.
Charlie is requested to get them out of there.
Save it.
Charlie's assessment of the rapid.
Another great rapid on the Boschkaus. Managed to make the sneak run on the right.
If you say so. The kayakers don't share his optimism, however.
The raft is the wrong item, the wrong vehicle for this river. It's a pain.
What do you think we've covered last 4 days? 4 miles, maybe?
Yeah, that's max. That's giving them a lot of credit.
Yeah. It's just too much stuff. I mean, you figure with a kayak, we probably could have covered that in an easy day.
Less, probably,
Yeah.
2/3 of the day. Yeah, the Russians seem to be much more, they're a little lightweight, although we do have some of their gear. I think the idea of going light and fast would be much easier with them. They can portage those catamarans an awful lot faster. And they're always waiting, too.
Но дело в том, что у нас речки горные.
The thing is that our rivers are very high in the mountains and there are no roads. And therefore, Russian tourists try to maximize the ease by minimizing the things they take with them. They don't even take bread, just croutons. American tourists have roads to rivers. They can take their cars and go very easily. For their own comfort, they can take anything they want with them. First time I saw them, I freaked out. Basically, you're traveling in comfort, but I love it too.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just two different currents. We have differences in our behavior, differences in our boats, but we're still people. And we basically understand the water and the sport and each other the same way. And we react to life the same way. And it doesn't prevent us from working together at all in this. One of the most difficult rivers in the Soviet Union.
The wreckage of this catamaran at the top of the next major rapid sends the same message to paddlers as a lighthouse does to sailors. And Shoritz and Kostya waste no time in portaging around the rapid. The kayakers are next to arrive. Brian wants to know what happened to the group that abandoned the catamaran. Without Masha here to interpret, Shoritz mimes his explanation, proving that you don't always need words to communicate effectively. It looks like they had to hike out of the gorge. There was a second boat on the trip. The paddlers of that boat were out of food, so they paddled like hell to get down the river. The American rafts arrive, and Masha asks Shoritz about this rapid, which is called Мясорубка, meat grinder in English.
No, we're not going through this rapid today. I ran it last time I was here. We consider this rapid to be the 6th degree of difficulty. If something happens in this rapid, if the boat overturns, it's very hard to pull it to shore. The current carries it to the next rapid. The Americans who are going to run this rapid are very courageous. I wish them from my heart as much success as possible.
Meanwhile, Kostya has learned of a tragedy.
A few days ago at one of the rapids, there was an accident. And according to the journal that the directors left, a catamaran got a huge hole in a pontoon and overturned. A few people were able to get to shore. One guy was swallowed by the water and dragged. They couldn't find him. Perhaps he's dead. Perhaps he's alive. I guess we'll find out when we find the body.
The sobering news moves Shoritz to make a plea to Charlie and Todd.
This is a classic rapid.
Мы
Really
на
hard.
катамаране по нему не пойдем.
No way we can do this.
Нас
Forget
здесь
it.
3 раза может перевернуть. В этой, в той
Three
и в той
times,
бочках.
you can flip 3 times on this thing.
В котором очень много оголенных камней, через которые бьется река. Там опасность для человеческой жизни.
Your life is in danger.
It looks like there's a undercut under this rock, Todd, that I'd be concerned about. There is a right run, but under that rock it'd be nasty.
What do you think about a possible over there on that left run?
There's a left run there, but the entry to it is so critical that if you were to miss it and surf into the middle, it looks like a man eating hold of me.
Definitely looks like a bad place for a flip or a swimmer.
Yeah.
Someone to drown.
Yeah, it looks like a deep hole where you would not get out, and who knows what the boat would do. Let's port it.
All right. Very good. Let's go.
Bob has another idea. He is convinced he can run part of the rapid and thus reduce the distance he'll have to carry his boat. He really can't afford to be wrong. Bob's clean run doesn't change anyone else's mind, and the unloading begins. Of course, with this much gear, everyone has to help out, including the clients.
You can see why I paid $6,000 friggin' dollars to do this. It's well worth $6,000.
They prepare to line the first raft. This isn't going to work. There is only one way to deal with the dilemma.
I've been in New Zealand, Africa, South America, all over the United States, and this is definitely one of the toughest portages I've ever been on. It doesn't look too bad.
If running the river is difficult, portaging has its own hazards.
Big and swelling. Coach is going to be very, very pissed. Not only can I run on it, my kicking fit too. No way.
As far as the amount of gear we have, I think we've all learned something. We have 2 heavy boats, and the Soviets are just shaking their heads on the amount of gear we have. I can't wait to see what we got downstream, but sounds like it's going to be a great time. I hope it's not anything worse than this.
The rapids are almost over, and the river is becoming downright peaceful. In fact, it's a lake. It looks like Todd is getting his wish, but experienced river runners are never deceived by lakes in river gorges. Those lakes are only held in by natural dams caused by rock slides from the mountain walls. And beneath those dams lies the devil's playground. The portage will be the longest one yet, almost a mile, and the most dangerous. Huge boulders are poised to come thundering down. And now the weather, which has been perfect throughout the week, gives out. The portage route becomes slick, and boulders begin to shift. The rapid just looks more ominous in the rain. But what would be a Siberian river trip without some good stories to take home? Isn't this why Charlie chose the Bashkaus? And so, the boatmen begin warming up for a last run. Of the rapid.
We over-paddled to the right, but actually it helped us a little bit because we carefully turned around and looked where we had to go next. We Russians don't usually run rapids like this. We usually just look once and go all the way down. And here what happened is like what the kayakers do. We went into the shadow, looked around, saw where we had to go, and went all the way to the end. Altogether, I'm very happy with this rapid. It's very fast, and we have to think very fast. A very technical rapid.
Sloppily, but at least safely. We did it. I'd give myself a C grade, maybe a B.
Your tourists went very cleanly and smoothly on their runs, especially Todd. Very good. He didn't even shake once. And also smooth was,
Charlie. Very good. Totally.
Good, Jordan.
Charlie.
My friend. Good rapid.
Мой друг.
Survived the ordeal of the Bashkaus. It was now just a matter of paddling 10 miles to Lake Teletsky and catching the ferry that would take them to the road leading out of the Altai region. But then, bandits. A movie? Out in the wilds of Siberia? And can you imagine? The script was from a Jack London short story. The world really is getting smaller. The group just couldn't get over the movie crew's camp. There were hot water showers and sinks, and even an essential Russian institution, the banya. Members politely consented to try out the banya. Later, they watched the film dailies, which are flown in once a week. The group learned from the movie crew that the body of the missing paddler had washed ashore several days earlier. The Bashkaus has now claimed 7 lives. The kayakers arrive at the confluence of the Bashkaus and Chulishman rivers. The Chulishman has also spent its fury. The little village of Kumurtuk seems deserted at first, but the team has been noticed all right. Getting separated from your translator can make for unusual conversations.
Какой нация? Не знаете?
Russian is нет? No Russian? No Altai?
Ну да. Молодец, хорошо. Ну, Алтай понравились?
No, English.
Все хорошо.
America. America.
The Soviet influence is more evident here than in Yazula village on the upper Chulishman. There is a daycare center, and many people get around in these 3-wheelers. Nevertheless, the free-spirited villagers are not too happy being a part of the Soviet Union. This man is uneasy about being filmed in public because fellow villagers might suspect him of being a spy for the Soviet government. He and his fellow villagers are proud of their relative independence.
We're like people in Miami.
Это единственное в Советском Союзе Майами.
This is the original Miami of the Soviet Union.
Я довезу.
А где ты живешь? Далеко?
Недалеко. Где береза?
In the privacy of his home, he talks about the Altai people.
Человека мы любим больше Бога.
We love the person more than God. We hold the spirit more than money.
Потому что мы язычники. Мы дикие люди. Так говорят. У вас на Западе.
They say in the West, you know, that we're wild people.
Дикая Азия.
From wild Asia.
В основном Западная Сибирь.
Но у вас есть очень свободные души Алтай, да?
Это, наверное, в мире единственное место, где
This is the only place in the whole
человек
world where a person
считает себя
can feel himself being
человеком.
free.
Оригинал. Оригинал.
Original, to be himself, to be his own person.
Да. И истинный сын природы.
That is the Altai spirit, and that is what I'm proud of.
The next morning, the village boys managed to overcome their shyness. Chores out of the way, every able hand in the village is off to the fields. Winter is not far off, and they must make hay while the sun shines. It turns out that the lake is a popular group camping destination for Siberian city dwellers. And who should appear on the ferry but the British-Soviet team? They had a fine trip down the Chulishman, no regrets at all.
I don't think our governments should accuse each other of everything. Like on this trip, we worked together, and I didn't have any desire to kill you or anything, and I don't think you did either. I think we should probably have friendship between our countries and not think about this war, which scares us as much as you.
What about the fear factor? Were you feeling some fear, dear?
Only once. From the time I got on the boat till the time I got off.
But I thought that being sort of close to the edge is a positive thing. That seeing limits of your experience and seeing limits of your capabilities and seeing an opportunity to judge your own safety is a valuable thing. And that we all ought to try to push ourselves through that fairly frequently.
Again and again we discover that our lives don't have as many problems as we create for ourselves. Because the only problems we have are life and death, everywhere, globally. and everything else.
No problem.
Oh, and Charlie says he can hardly wait to come back next year and run the Tyaželaya.